good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the world you are. Thanks for joining in. We have with us Devin Biginus. He is the Director for Custom Live Corporate Programs at Cornell University. Devin, glad that you are here. Um, we have been talking to several participants over the last few months on Cornell EPM. As we all know that this is a 6-month program, and this has got 16 live sessions and around 600 plus electives. This particular interaction with you is for you to take us through what these 16 sessions look like and what these electives will look like. For the purpose of all those who have joined us, Devin is particularly interested in leadership lessons that executives can learn from the sports environment. And Devin has written numerous business lessons from sports articles for Forbes, Globe, and Mail Newspaper Canada. Devin, glad that you are here. Thank you for joining in, and over to you.
Great, thank you so much, John. And as John reiterated, the new greeting is either good evening to all of you in India or in Asia or the Middle East, wherever you might be zooming in from. It's good morning here in Ithaca, New York, on a snowy, cold morning. It's I was telling the guys earlier that it's about -5, -6 degrees Celsius or 19 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's quite cold this morning out my window. But great to see everybody, or great to connect everybody here this evening. First of all, thank you for your interest in the EPM program within Cornell University, and we're proud to be partnering with XED on this important initiative for Cornell as we think about our global outreach and global capabilities. Obviously, Cornell is a U.S. Ivy League institution, a research institution, but very concerned with our global outreach capability. We've done a lot of work in India, in Asia, and the Middle East, of course, as well as many other places in the world. But these types of programs are critical to making outreach and taking education from where I'm sitting in Ithaca or our new campus on Roosevelt Island in New York City out to the rest of the world. Cornell University was founded in 1865 by Ezra Cornell. And I mention that because the founding statement of Cornell is, "I would found an institution where any person can find instruction in any study." And I think that's a very important founding mission that we still try to live up to as a university with these types of programs, which is great, giving access to world-class education and research and applicability to professionals like yourselves who are every day wanting to learn and get better and apply the learning for what you're trying to do. I thank you very much for your interest in this program. And I also thank you for exhibiting a growth mindset. That's something that we talk a lot about in terms of this notion of, as education drives progress, education helps you grow, helps you become a better leader, and helps you drive impact. And really, that's one of the things that I've clearly, by your interest in at any stage of this program process, whether you're, you've already signed up, you're potentially signing up, you're interested in the program, you're exhibiting a growth mindset in the sense that you think you can be better. And that is a critical belief that education helps drive, and education enables you to be better as a leader and to be better as a professional. And really thank you for your interest in that. And that's certainly something we believe in quite a bit here at Cornell University. As John said, I'm a director of custom live corporate programs. So in that role across all of Cornell University, I work with global organizations like Amazon, like Merck, like SC Johnson, or many other organizations that we have the privilege of connecting with on a daily basis, in helping them to understand what are they trying to do organizationally and strategically. How does that link to the critical capabilities that their leaders need to impart and to sort of be able to have? And then we design education programs across all of Cornell University that helps them do that. And so that's really how I spend my days is working with organizations that are really helping to shape both the current environment and the craziness that entails with the COVID-19 situation, but also shape the future of what they're trying to do as an organization. Whether it's an organization like Merck, who's trying to drive the future of healthcare and the future of leadership in that space. Amazon obviously trying to move even faster and become an even more global giant that they are. as well as many other organizations that we have the privilege of working with to help their leaders be better. And so this program is linked to many of those objectives that we have in helping leaders to be better. I'll share a few slides and a few visuals, so you're not just looking at, though this is a pretty background here, but you're looking at some images that I'll walk you through here, and then would love to have a chance to answer any questions and any comments that you'd like to make as you think about learning more and engaging more with this program linked to Cornell University. So I'm just going to share my screen here and pull up some slides that I can just sort of share for a second there. All right, great. So hopefully you see another nice image of Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. So I've been with Cornell University 8 years. Prior to that, was with Duke Corporate Education in London, England, and New York, and in Durham, North Carolina. And then about 8 years ago, made the move to Ithaca, New York, to be with Cornell University to join the Johnson the Johnson Graduate School of Management. And then about 4 years ago, we integrated to the Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business. So took 3 schools at Cornell that do business and integrated them into one College of Business. And then recently, we've actually integrated those capabilities even further to form an entity called Cornell External Education, where I sit, which is across the entire University of Cornell to help broaden our outreach capability across the university. And that includes the connection with eCornell. As you'll see, they're certainly a partner in this, though my primary role is working with faculty and working with our resources to design and deliver customized and global education programs for organizations. And as you can see, some of the schools that contribute to that, one of the exciting schools that is contributing to that global outreach and that broader outreach as part of overall Cornell University is Cornell Tech, right? So the bottom picture you see there is actually a shot of our Roosevelt Island campus between Manhattan and Queens in New York City, depending on how well you know your New York City geography. But it was a venture started about 7 or 8 years ago by then Mayor Michael Bloomberg to diversify the economy of New York City and to make it less reliant on only financial services. So set it out for bid, and Cornell was proud to win that. That campus really is at the intersection of engineering, of business, and of law. Right, so the 3 schools that really sort of contribute to that to form a much different integrated organization is the business school, or the College of Business, or sort of where I was sitting, Cornell Engineering, so the sort of the technical engineering side of things, and then law, so the sort of the Cornell Law School, which contributes to sort of the way that entrepreneurs and leaders in a more digital age have to contribute. So we hope that this sort of integration, and we think this is a pretty innovative play for a university that has the sort of the depth of a Cornell University to also now have the breadth in new ways of thinking about how do we serve the changing digital leadership needs of organizations and individuals. And so I'll move to the next slide here. One of the ways that we think about leadership development, and I think this is one of the critical sort of mindsets that we encourage the EPM participants to have, as well as our overall leaders that we work with, is this product manager mindset. And this is basically linked to the T-shaped leadership model that some of you may be aware of, but it's an understanding of, to be a leader in the new changing, fast moving digital world, you have to be able to go both wide and go deep. So what we mean by that is, if you are a technical leader in an organization, whether it's in India or the Middle East or Southeast Asia or Asia, you have technical depth, right? You understand that product line or that functional area. And that's traditionally been how people develop as leaders, is they understand that they own a product or they own a technical area, whether it's marketing or finance or HR. And so they understand that business line. And so that ability to go even deeper and know your industry or your product in a core way is still critical. And that's absolutely part of the T. Increasingly, the top part of the T is also a critical capability for leaders to develop. And it really links to this notion of being able to go wide and understand the organizational strategy and understand the industry shifts that you're operating in. So the ability of leaders to be able to go wide and go deep is one of the core design frameworks that we're offering here in the EPM, is to help you think about, develop new mindsets to go deep and to go wide. We can all think of sort of organizational leaders that get sort of held up as sort of best practices in this. You know, you think Jeff Bezos at Amazon, Elon Musk at Tesla, et cetera. they understand their product line, whether it's electric cars or customer distribution and logistics, incredibly well. But what they also understand is the ability to go wide, right? Which is, how does the whole organization, how does Amazon Video contribute to Amazon Prime, contributing to Amazon logistics, or Amazon Web Services, which is another core part of their business. And so it's really that notion of, how do you understand that? And that's where sort of part of this notion and how we designed EPM, the ability to think, do, and feel, can in a T-shaped world, right? This is really what we're noticing, both linked to Cornell Tech, but also just linked to the global organizations that we work with, is helping them develop capabilities in both of these areas, the ability to go wide and go deep. I mentioned that linked to part of the sort of the input part, and part of the faculty strength in this program comes from Cornell Tech, right? This is an exciting new venture for us at Cornell. Again, sort of our ability to be both technical expertise in engineering and business and technical side, but also to go deep. And to go wide, right, in the new technology, fast-moving digital age, right? So Cornell Tech really focuses on this new way of informing. So I think you'll see that this sort of spirit of builder mindset, experimentation mindset, all of the ways that we think about applying this in the current world and the current reality that we're all operating in, is linked to Cornell Tech's sort of spirit, and is sort of this revolutionary model that informs. We were working with one giant industrial client recently, and they said that really Cornell has digital as a horizontal throughout your entire university. And I think we definitely embrace that. And I think you'll see that in the faculty sessions that we have planned for you, is the kind of the Cornell Tech spirit, given the new world that we all operate in. The other model that I'd like you to think about as you think about this program is how to be a more strategic and critical thinker, right? And that's really the first core phase of this program, is the ability to think differently about where the world is and what your world is looking like. And so I describe this affectionately as the bow tie model, right? And so we think that one of the core progressions that leaders have to make is the ability to have a lot of technical expertise and operate in sort of the fog of the world, and a lot of where we have got a lot of competing information and ideas, and drive that down into really concrete insights, right? The leaders that get promoted, that advance, that create new innovations, are those who can take the complexity of the world and make it simpler, right? Understand how to drive insights in and create insights for their business and for the organization as a whole. And then you're now at the kind of the mid part of the bow tie, is how do you influence for value, right? How do you take that out and drive insights and create value for the organization and for yourself in communicating those simple insights, right? So how do I take the fog of the world, drive it down into 2 or 3 compelling insights? And then it's now, how do I take it back out again and communicate and influence those insights for value, right? And so I think that's really where the progression from think, do, feel comes from, is how do I think differently? How do I do things differently? And how do I feel things differently as I really think about influencing for value? And so that's one of the core parts of what we were hoping to drive from. And again, all of this is driven from what we're learning within Cornell University, what we're learning with the reach that we're doing with leaders who are every day. The difference, as I like to say, the difference in these kind of programs is I need to give you something that you can apply that afternoon or that evening, or at the very least the next morning, depending on time zones. In a degree program, you might have longer than that, right? You have a year, you have a 2-year program. At an undergraduate level in India, you have a 3-year, BBA kind of program. And so you have a little longer runway to introduce a concept, let you play with it, and then you get to apply it. In the world that you all operate in, I need to give you a tool, whether it's the T-shaped leader or this sort of bow tie model, as I affectionately call it, that you can apply later on, right? You can say, in my business, am I deep and wide? Do I have technical expertise that I can then create some compelling insights and influence for value? I think that those are critical capabilities that you need to be able to apply tomorrow morning. And that's part of what the EPM program does, is give you very practical tools, provoke you to think differently and do things differently about yourself, about the world, about your company that you're creating value for, and apply it immediately, right? And I'll talk a little bit more later on about the experimentation mindset is one of the tools that we can give you to think differently about, okay, I just got a tool in critical thinking or how to be more emotionally intelligent. And then let me take that forward and drive value immediately for the organization. And so that's really at the heart of what an EPM kind of program, an executive program in management, and a certificate program is about. It is not about the degree. It is about the credential, the certificate you'll get. So you can say, I went to a Cornell University program. That's absolutely part of it. But it really is this notion of how do I get tools and be better, right? How do I drive change for myself or for those around me that I need to create value for? So I've talked a little bit about this think, feel, do model. Here's an overall outline and some of the faculty that we're going to be engaging you with. These are some of the best faculty that we have in executive education. So they have done a lot of research, they've done a lot of applicability work with organizations and individuals, and they are global thought leaders in their areas of expertise, whether it's all the way from start to finish, getting things done and thinking strategically, to how do you lead innovation and how do you make sense from a financial side. So we've broken this the 16 modules up into 3 core categories, right? The first one is changing mindsets, right? What do you need to think how do you need to think differently, right? And this is a notion of how do you think differently? How do you make sense of the fog? And one of the faculty you'll get a chance to meet later in the program, General George Casey, I think framed it incredibly well. After I had done some sessions with him for executive leaders, he and I were in the car getting to the airport after a session, and he said, Devin, I now have a better sense of what you do, what programs you run. And he said, what you're really trying to do is you're preparing leaders to jump out of an airplane into uncertainty, right? You don't know where they're going to land. They're going to land in the desert. They're going to land in the forest. They're going to land in the Arctic. And executive education, Devin, is what you do on the plane ride up. And how do you get them ready and give them the tools, whether in that case, it might be a compass or a tent or so. But in this case, it's the ability to think differently, think more critically, understand innovation, understand consumer insights. So this first phase is really, if you think of this as sort of the plane ride up, to get you ready for understanding when you jump out of the plane and land, how to make sense of your environment, right? How to understand yourself. So the new technology, digital disruption, all these buzzwords that we toss around, agile, versatile, VUCA world, et cetera. All of these are the skills and mindsets that you'll need to be successful in that environment, not knowing that we can't prescribe exactly what environment you're going to go into, whether it's healthcare, whether it's finance, whether it's technology. We know all of you are interested in this program because you're going into exciting things or you're in exciting worlds. And we're trying to give you mindsets and the ability to do that differently. There is a bit at the sort of the midpoint of this when it's about sort of emotional intelligence and some of the other components there that we're helping you to be a better leader yourself. So grit is a concept that gets talked a lot about in leadership today, because we know COVID-19 is one of the main ones, that there are going to be ups and downs in your leadership journey as you develop. There's going to be times when you're high flying. There's going to be times when you get knocked down or you get something happens. And that sort of purpose-driven, true north ability and the grit to get up and say, all right, that experiment did not work, and now I'm going to try it again. The ability to be more emotionally intelligent to those around you, and then socially intelligent, or to how to have broader purpose, how to lead with authenticity, is some of the categories that get talked about in the feel section. During the do section, it's okay, you've got some of these core skills. Now, how do you put them into practice, right? And so this is that sort of now going out again in the bow tie of how do I lead when times get tough, right? That's General George Casey, and he was the chief of staff of the U.S. Army and led in some very volatile times in U.S. history. And he'll have some interesting stories to share there. And then it's also about how do I influence, how do I story tell? I think most great leaders are really good storytellers, right? They have a way of telling a story that makes you remember that. I hope, I'm not saying I'm a great leader, but I'm saying that maybe you remember the George Casey jumping out of an airplane story as a follow-up to this session, right? That ability to tell a story, that makes it sticky, right? That makes it really sort of memorable if you do it right. And so the ability to be a good storyteller, to communicate effectively, and then, of course, you need to be able to negotiate, right? A lot of life, as Tony Simons will tell you, is a negotiation, whether it's asking for a raise, negotiating for a merger or an acquisition. or just sort of trying to sort of have the daily conversations we all have to have. It's a negotiation, and to be good at that is critical. The last side of this, one of the last modules, is you have to be able to speak the language that the world runs in, right? And I don't mean just English or Spanish or what, you know, or Arabic or whatever the language might be. It's the language of finance is one of those core languages. I remember we were talking to a consultant recently, and he said that the leaders of tomorrow will speak fluently and interchangeably the language of business and leadership, but also innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology, and sort of technical engineering language. And he said, if you can use those two languages fluently, and again, I thought that was a great analogy, similar to if you were ever trying to do work in Latin America and you only spoke English, that would be a big challenge. You'd have to interchangeably and fluently speak Spanish or Portuguese to do work in South America. And so that bilingual nature of leaders, I think, is a critical concept for how we need to progress that. And then last but not least is how do we do things with it? How do we lead innovation? And so the faculty lead, Alan Filipowitz, who I've had the privilege of working with for a number of years now, will sort of kick off the program with getting things done and sort of giving you sort of an action mindset throughout all 16 sessions. But then he'll wrap it up. And how do you actually lead innovation, and how do things sort of done after you've had all these tools, and how do you apply them differently? I've mentioned this and I'm sensitive to time, and I do want to leave some times for Q&A. One of the things we really encourage you to do is have this experimentation mindset. We call this the experimentation wheel, right? The organizations we work with, whether it's Amazon or Merck or many other organizations, spin this wheel very rapidly, right? So they have a hypothesis for an innovation, they test it, they get feedback from it, they review it, they modify it, and then they do it again, right? As Jeff Bezos said, the Amazon Go grocery store, the touchless grocery store where you just go in and grab something and go out and the app automatically registers it. As he said, that was a result of 1,543 experiments, right? And so really encouraging you after every session to run 1, 2, 3 experiments will be invaluable for you. Testing theories, trying new things. One leader we worked with recently used to have a morning meeting that he had that used to take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. And he really only wanted it to be a 10-minute, 15-minute sort of priority setting meeting. So one of his experiments coming out of a session like we did here was to do a stand-up meeting, right? And he said, I'm going to have everybody stand up, and even do this over Zoom to stand up. Instantly, that meeting became a 15-minute meeting, and it became exactly what he wanted that meeting to be, right? Just a very easy example of how to run an experiment that can be, that can add value to creating sort of how that might look like. So the other side of this, and I did want to show you this, the other side of this, having these 16 live sessions, is we're going to give you access to, as John said, 600 or so electives. And this is coming from the eCornell on-demand learning library. And I'll show you a screenshot here. I'm happy to go into it if people have further questions, but in the interest of time, this is sort of an active screenshot on the left of what the on-demand library is going to look like. You can log in and you'll have access to this starting in January, when you actually get access to it, and you can access these electives, right? Whether it's in sort of any of the areas like critical thinking or strategic thinking, and these are 30, 45 minutes, 60-minute lessons that you'll get, that you have videos, tools, applicability there, and then each one of those lessons comes with a coaching guide or a blended learning guide that you can take back to your team and have a meeting with your team and actually ask good questions that says, here's what I went through. Now I want to help shape my team discussion in a better way in critical thinking, or as what you see on your screen, brand measurement, or financial acumen. And so we think this is a core part of the program. You'll have access to this throughout the entire program. And you will encourage you between the 16 live virtual sessions that are synchronous sessions to take advantage of this learning library. It's a great and a constantly growing library of sort of faculty at Cornell lessons that can be bite-sized, or 30-minute, 45-minute bites, as you think about it there. So that's one of the core parts that we wanted to encourage you to take advantage of, that will help better inform and make the custom live sessions even better. So as I said, sort of as we sit with Cornell University and this founding statement, I think it's a great way to sort of to end my sort of spoken part of it. And John, I'll be open to if there's questions or answers, and go any direction we want to go here.
Sure. Thanks so much, Devin. We have a question from Monish. Monish Call. Does this program have any evaluation mechanisms, or is it just participation only? Devin, I would like to take this question. If it's okay with you,
Sure.
can you go to the
Yeah.
slide on the live sessions? I just want to just if it's okay with you, yeah. So
Yeah.
folks, we have 16 live sessions, and if you know, I just want to clarify this. uh, the faculty for these live sessions are all Cornell faculty. Devin did mention Cornell Tech, and we have, Devin, correct me if I'm wrong, we have Professor Gautam Ahuja, Professor
Yep.
Karan Girotra. They are coming in directly from Cornell Tech. So we
Yep.
have quite a few faculty coming in from the entire breadth of Cornell University. Now, these programs, these sessions will happen over a weekend, every alternate Saturday. And most of you must have received the schedule by now. Uh, During the session, we have, at the end of every session, every live session, we have an assessment during the session. So we are trying to measure the knowledge transfer even during that session. Apart from that, you will all be onboarded into a mobile application, and there would be leaderboards. So yes, we are measuring knowledge transfer, we are measuring peer learning. Your ability to communicate both with faculty and with peers will be measured and will be communicated effectively.
Yep.
Finally,
Yeah.
just,
So
yeah, sorry, go on, Devin.
I was going to say, certainly, John. One of the frameworks, and perhaps you're familiar with the Kirkpatrick Phillips, sort of learning model about sort of going from did I like it and did I enjoy it to did it actually make a difference. And certainly, we work towards level 3, level 4 of that kind of a pyramid of did it actually make a difference for you, and did it move the needle. So that kind of we'll certainly work on that, and that's embedded in sort of a lot of the design methodology for these sessions.
Sure. Thanks so much. We have one question on the certificate. I just want to clarify on that, Devin. So the certificate is a Cornell University certificate,
Yep.
and the sample of the Cornell University certificate is on the website, and it is on the brochure as well. We'll be happy to take you through that over a separate call. We have Satya Ramdas, who mentioned, would there be a separate pivoting point based on the background of candidates? Um, I don't know what you mean, Satya, but just to probably try to answer your question. Um, so we have participants who are quite diverse. So we have um, government IAS officers who are having 23 years of experience, to people coming in from the armed forces, to folks coming in from the top echelons of the financial industry. So the average experience comes to around 15 years. That said, there is sufficient diversity in the class. Cornell will treat every participant equally, and it is up to us to ensure that we extract a lot of value from each other as far as participants are concerned.
Yeah. And John, I think that's a critical part is the diversity of the cohort. And certainly I know you're looking at that and we're looking at that as designers and owners of the program, because in this kind of open enrollment program, part of the learning you're going to get is from each other. And also part of the network you're going to get is from each other, right? So your ability after this program or during this program, if you see somebody in an interesting company to say, hey, I'd love to talk to you more about what you said on that live session, the kind of company you're running, let's talk, right, about maybe new business opportunities. So I think that's a critical part of these types of programs.
Sure. We have just last 1 minute, and we have. I'll just take this question from Gopal Doshi. Um, so she's asking. So this will not include any project work apart from the live sessions as an additional investment of time. I just want to clarify this. So every live session, there is going to be some pre-work, and there could be some post-work, some reflective exercise. So there is a considerable engagement before every session. That is one. Two is that we are asking you to complete at least 3 electives. But that said, you have an access to, Devin said 600, I said 600, but I think so it's around 800 plus electives for you to consume during the entire 6 months. You have to at least consume 3 electives to come to the program. conducting it multiple times in a year. Yes, the first batch is in Jan. We are looking at more batches, but we would highly encourage you to apply in the first batch itself.
Yep. Yeah, that's right, John. There's not, unlike some corporate custom programs where we do have projects and teams working together, that is not a formal part of it because we know you're all working in largely different companies. That being said, one of the critical part of learning is experimenting and doing different things. So we encourage you, right out of the gate to, when you have your first session or you have the first lesson, to apply it, right? Because that's how you're going to get the greatest value. Is at the end of this, if you can say, maybe not 1,543 experiments, but at least numerous experiments, you'll be better if you've tried a lot of new things and applied the skills throughout the entire session. So we encourage you to really take full impact of the program as you drive experimentations to make a difference for you and for the organization you work with.
Thanks so much, Devin. I think so. We have more questions, but we have only so much time in a day. Thank you, Devin, for your time. For the rest of us, in case of any questions, please do reach out to your respective admissions directors, and we will be happy to respond to each one of you. Thank you again, Devin. Thank you for your time, and wishing you a great day ahead. Thank you all. Wishing you a good evening. Thanks. Bye bye.
Great. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your evening, and we look forward to seeing you as part of the program, hopefully. Thank you all. Thank you, John, for setting this up.
See you soon, Devin. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.